I've lived in this house in Merrick for 43 years. I love living in Merrick and in Nassau County in general because I like the suburban life. My children grew up here, the schools were good. They both got into the schools of their choice, which what else could you want? Since Trump has come into office, it has definitely changed. In a year and a half, we've seen our rights being taken away from us, whether it's freedom of press, freedom of speech, freedom to assemble. The due process for every single person who lives here is ignored. It's almost as if he's given permission to hate. And I don't like seeing that side of my neighbors that I never saw before.
Nassau's Religious Safety Act was passed unanimously in December and signed by County Executive Bruce Blakeman in January. The law makes it illegal to protest within 100 feet of a religious site an hour before or after a service, or within 35 feet any other time.
The buffer zone has prevented me from handing out leaflets at the church, getting close enough to even speak to the churchgoers or be able to hand out the pamphlet that I wanted. And the thing, we would go get together in couples and go to the churches, every church, like 9 churches in our area after Mass, not interrupting the Masses at all, and hand out the bishop's statement, which was supposed to be handed out in every parish anyway, so that we weren't doing anything that was against that. And then we read about this law and that going into effect, and we're saying, oh my God, we can get arrested for doing this? For just spreading the word of God? There are laws, I understand there are laws that prevent you from harassing or intimidating or interfering with people from worship, but that was never part of our plan, and yet I could have been jailed. I feel a call to speak up for immigrants is because they cannot speak up for themselves. We were taught to feed the hungry, heal the sick, and welcome the strangers. My father was an undocumented immigrant. He came to this country at 15 years old. In Italy, he worked on a ship since he was 9 years old. It docked in New York when he was 15. He got off the boat and never went back. I don't see a difference between my father being a 15-year-old undocumented minor and someone coming over the border being an undocumented minor. No one worked harder than my father. He was a waiter his whole life, still raised a family of 5. I grew up in a different America where we cherished our freedoms, that we respected the Constitution and the rule of law, and I fear that my grandchildren won't live in that same America. If we stop speaking out, if we stop protesting, it's just a small minority of people that have these loud voices right now. The majority of people, I truly believe, are good, compassionate, loving people. But these racists and haters have really been louder right now, and if we don't speak up, I don't want to see the country turn into something that I truly believe it's really not. Superman had it all right for truth, justice, and the American way. Covers everything. As long as people live according to those standards, America will be fine. We need more superheroes in this world.